Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share what I'm doing for my British literature course this year. This year, when I was preparing my oldest daughter's literature for her senior year of high school, we came up with the idea together to do literary time periods. So I made her a binder where I broke up all of the main literary time periods and talked about what the themes were in those time periods and who some of the biggest writers were. And she's reading excerpts and poems and short stories and essays and books from each time period. I used a lot of resources for that. One of them was Benjamin McAvoy. He has a channel here on YouTube. And I found a set of courses from a company called Masterbooks. They have world literature, American literature, and British literature. And I decided it was worth the splurge to get those, even if I wasn't using them exactly the way they're laid out, because I can reuse them and I want to use them. A few years ago, I tried to find a British literature course at a university near us, but it was really expensive and most of the books were books I'd already read. And so I kind of started looking into it. And that seemed to be the case with a lot of them I was finding. They were books I've already read and it was going to be pretty expensive. So when I saw these, I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this British literature course myself. And then I'm going to do the world and the American one as well. So I thought I would share today the books that I'm reading for this. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the school year in June so that I'm finishing my school at the same time my daughters are finishing theirs. But I'm also taking it just as I can do it. So I might not. We'll see. We'll see if I actually get these all read by then. So these are the books I'm choosing to read. There are some I'm leaving out because I've read them recently or I read them and I don't feel like reading them again. So the first one is Beowulf. I'm not going to reread that. I read that a few years ago, a children's version with my kids, and then I've read I've read a couple of other versions myself, and I don't love Beowulf, so I don't really feel like reading it again. I know the gist of it, I know the story, and so I just didn't feel like it was important to read again. Right now, I am in the middle of The Ecclesiastical History of the English People by Bede, and this has actually been pretty interesting, and I should be finishing this up in the next week or so. And then I'll be moving on to the Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I am reading the translation by J.R.R. Tolkien. I've heard this was a good one. I hope it will be. I am not going to be reading the Canterbury Tales because I've already read those, and I've read a couple of them, the ones that they recommend recently. The next book is The Faerie Queene by Edmund Spenser, and I just couldn't find a good one, and I just decided I'm going to skip that one. So if you've read The Faerie Queene and love it, don't think I should skip it, let me know. Then I need to read Macbeth. And I have read Macbeth quite a few times, so I decided this time I'm going to be reading it from the Tales of Shakespeare by the Lambs, just for a little different perspective. And then I'll be reading Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. That's a short, teeny little thing. And then I'll be reading some sonnets by John Donne. Those are in the book. And let's see, Paradise Lost. I'll be reading Paradise Lost by John Milton. I've never read this before and I've always wanted to, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I'm also choosing, along with it, to read C.S. Lewis's preface to Paradise Lost. So I'm excited to get to that. After that, I'll be reading An Essay of Dramatic Poesy by John Dryden. I don't know anything about that. But I will be updating you guys as I go along. Every month when I do my wrap-ups, I'll let you know which books I've read from this and what I thought of them. After that, it recommends reading a book by Frances Burney, and it said to either read Evelina or Cecilia. And I have heard different things from different people on which one is better. And so I got both. And here's Evelina, and it's pretty big. And then I opened it. Let me see if you can see this on here. I'm gonna need a microscope to read this. I don't know if I'm going to read that or not. But then I decided I was for sure going to be reading Cecilia instead. But then I got it, and this thing is ginormous. So we'll see. We'll see which one of those I choose. But maybe I'll love it so much that I'll want to read both. If you've read either of those, let me know your opinion. Next is supposed to be Robinson Crusoe, but I've just recently read that, so I won't be reading that again. But then next, I will be reading The Vicar of Wakefield by Oliver Goldsmith. The Rivals by Richard Brinsley Sheridan. I'll be rereading one of my very favorite books, Jane Eyre. And another one, Frankenstein, hard to tell. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to reread Tale of Two Cities or not, because I do really like it, but I'm just not sure if I want to reread that right now or not. But I will be rereading Pride and Prejudice. And I will be rereading Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And then I will be reading for the first time The Mayor of Casterbridge by Thomas Hardy. I've read other Thomas Hardy, but I've never read that one. And then I've never read any Joseph Conrad, and the class calls for reading Lord Jim. I'm also going to read Heart of Darkness, unless I don't like Lord Jim, but I think I will. And then I will be reading Are Women Human by Dorothy Sayers. It's an essay. This has other essays in it, so I will probably read all of them. And then I need to reread Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Oh, reread the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy. And then one that I haven't read before, T.S. Eliot's Murder in the Cathedral. The book is also full of a lot of poetry and essays and short stories, and so it's just a very full curriculum. As I said, as I go along each month, I will let you know if I've read anything new from it, if I finish things. They'll be in my wrap-ups, and then when I do finish the whole course, I'll let you know what I thought of it, and then I will move on to the world and American literature. So if you've ever done a British literature course, let me know if this looks typical for what you've done before, or if it's completely different. Let me know which books you've loved and which books you haven't. And if there's any that you think are not on this list that are things that I for sure should read. And if you have a favorite British author or a favorite British book, let me know below. Thanks for watching.